Yo, we back in the yeah man, we got this new Spider-Man trailer breakdown. I was gonna watch the trailer, but I already knew that was gonna be full of copyright. Might even got my stuff taken down, or would have got a copyright. You know they're easy to take out, but why risk it? Anyways, let's get right to it. Here we go.
You're gonna be late.
Sorry, man, I'm up. I'm okay.
Hey,
Oh,
Petey's always been a bit clumsy.
you know me, clumsy Petey Parker. Help! Mr. Campbell, I remembered I left something in the bathroom. Deuces. Parker out.
Superpower size kid, know you wanna name a like me. Look out.
Somebody help me! He's running, grab him! Gotcha!
I thought it was dead meat. Check out our next victim in his dumbass costume.
Is my suit really that bad? Ouch.
Oh!
Watch out for that ladder!
Just consider it a good deed from your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. That's me, by the way. I'm Spider-Man.
There we go, there we go, there we go again. Swinging through the city so fast you could barely notice him.
I truly believe that I have these powers to help people, to protect them.
Need my city, you need me. Taking off the mask, I know what you see. Know you want a neighbor like me. Just a young man cleaning up the streets. Ain't nothing changed, no, this is the real me.
So, you're Spider-Man. With my help, you'll achieve greatness.
Oh man, this suit's incredible! If you ever need another butt kicking, just look for your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Know you want a neighbor like.
And no, you may not be excused from said test. Ah, nice of you to join us, Mr. Parker. See me after class.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Marvel dropped a brand new trailer for the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man series that we're going to get episodes for in a few weeks. I will be doing episode videos for it week to week, so be sure to subscribe if you're brand new to my channel. As you can see, there's a bunch of Easter eggs from both the classic Spider-Man comics. They're making the art style if they just did Steve Ditko's art from the comic book pages in an animated series. Like, can we just animate the comic book pages kind of vibe? That's literally the way they animate part of the trailer too, as if you're watching it on a comic book page and it's just moving. They make a bunch of changes to a bunch of classic comic book characters, but in general, they want the universe here that they're in to feel like the actual Spider-Man comics, where you run into people like Captain America in the trailer, there's Green Goblin, there's a version of Harry Osborn, but like Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Nico from Runaways is there, there's even a version of Venom in the background of the trailer. Pretty much all the major characters from the Spider-Man lore in the original Spider-Man comics, even some of the modern Spider-Man stuff too, like some of the later Spider-Man stuff.
It should be good. I guess.
All done is that they were doing a version of Tom Holland's Spider-Man characters freshman year in high school. That was the original name of the show, Spider-Man Freshman Year. A lot of the big-name Marvel movie actors are coming back to voice these versions of the characters. For example, Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio are coming back to voice Daredevil and Kingpin during this. Benedict Cumberbatch is supposed to be voicing Doctor Strange, but like he looks like Steve Ditko's classic Doctor Strange. They haven't said who's voicing some of the other Avengers characters, like Captain America, for instance. It's not going to be Chris Evans, and Robert Downey Jr. isn't going to be voicing Iron Man during the series. It'll be a different actor.
That makes sense.
Coleman Domingo is going to be voicing Green Goblin, and obviously the other big twist here is they're playing on the whole Captain America Civil War scene where Tony Stark became Spider-Man's mentor, and they went to fight in Civil War, and he started getting the Stark tech suits. But in this scene, they're giving that role to Norman Osborn, so he's getting all these Oscorp suits, but it's like a version of the Future Foundation suit. This scene here, where he flies up and then attaches himself to the wall and looks at himself in the window here, is actually based on Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 3 when he was wearing the black suit too. So it's like they're doing a Toby Venom Spider-Man scene, but with the Future Foundation suit that's built by Norman Osborn.
That's cool.
So there's a bunch of Easter eggs for a bunch of different comics. And because we're doing Future Foundation suit, I'm also kind of wondering if the Fantastic Four will show up in the background too. We'll wind up seeing all the episodes before the Fantastic Four movie winds up coming out, though. I think they're only meant to be 10 episodes for season 1. Just starting at the beginning of the trailer, love the way that they start with the actual comic book long boxes, like in real life. Like you're going to the long boxes in a comic book shop and flipping through all the pages of different Marvel comics till you get to the long box of Spider-Man comics, and you go back to the beginning, like you go back to the back, so you're going back to the beginning of Spider-Man comics, and this is meant to be a reference to Amazing Fantasy number 15 with Spider-Man on the cover, but instead he's in a version of the homemade suit based on Tom Holland's homemade suit with some small changes. And now we know the person that he's carrying here is actually Harry Osborn during the series. I was confused the last time we saw footage because we didn't hear the character talking, but the minute that he opened his mouth in the trailer, I'm like, oh, that's clearly Harry Osborn. They just have him wearing his hair up in a bun, and he's dressed like a super rich kid would be dressed, I guess, in this universe. One of the other details here, too, with the actual Spider-Man comic book they're doing based on Amazing Fantasy number 15, you notice the Spider-Man in the symbol over here on the left. Marvel actually did something like this for a long time with the Spider-Man character. Like, they put Spider-Man's face on every single one of the comic books that they sold. Like, he became the face of the brand for a long time. Probably the other most notable thing, especially at the beginning of the trailer here, is that they use a remix new version of the 1960s Spider-Man TV theme for the theme of this series.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can.
You remember they used a version of this during Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. They basically explained in Miles Morales' universe that 1960s Spider-Man TV series was based on this version of Peter Parker's Spider-Man in that universe. The Marvel animation with the logo drawing all around in the paper is meant to be his doodles in the middle of class, like he's daydreaming, thinking of his costume ideas in the middle of class. We hear Aunt May waking him to go to school. Remember, this is meant to be his freshman year of high school, which they basically skipped over in Captain America Civil War. Then when we get to Spider-Man Homecoming, he was in his sophomore year. There's the twist with the animation in the comic book panels, but also this is after he's gotten the spider bite. They've released footage at a couple different Comic-Cons of showing him actually getting the spider bite with Nico here from Runaways watching it happen. Like a portal opens, Venom from another universe is fighting Doctor Strange, and the spider comes from that universe and bites him. It's pretty much the same twist as Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, with the spider that bit Miles Morales coming from that other universe. Then he winds up passing out with Nico, not really realizing what's just happened, that he's actually been bitten by this spider. Him getting hit by the car also feels like a joke on that moment from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse where Miles Morales basically jumps over the cab. He goes to Midtown High, just like the classic comics and like Spider-Man in the MCU. This seems like later in the first episode or like the second episode after he started to become friends with Nico.
Do not pay somebody to build you a Shopify store, because I'm going to do it free with 20 handpicked products by myself.
I'm not sure who this character in the yellow is meant to be, but it's probably a different version of a classic comic book character. The person who's playing Spider-Man during this, if you couldn't tell, is the same person who did his voice during the What If Season 1 episodes. There was actually supposed to be a Season 3 Spider-Man What If episode where he teamed up with Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange, but it got canceled for some reason. I think that's why there were only 8 episodes of What If Season 3 instead of 9 episodes. A lot of you also probably asking, how can Marvel do this Spider-Man TV series if technically Sony still owns the rights? Is it part of the sharing deal they have with the live-action Tom Holland Spider-Man? I don't think it is. I think that Marvel just still has the rights to do a half-hour animated Spider-Man TV show. But like if they wanted to do a live-action hour-long TV show, they couldn't do that because the rights for that are like a completely separate thing too. Like it's very, very complicated. Lawyers generally ruin everything. That should be the takeaway. But I do think they actually worked this out with Sony, so there's no like bad blood between them, because Sony's in the middle of their death throes and they're going to have to reboot their own Spider-Man spin-off universe with all those movies that they're trying to do. That's meant to be a completely separate thing. This is like all Marvel making this, like all Marvel's creative. This person in the Letterman jacket that sits down to eat with them, I think is meant to be a version of Lonnie Lincoln, who also does wind up turning into Tombstone in the future. We see him workshopping designs for a classic Spider-Man costume based on Steve Ditko's classic red and blue costume. That was actually the second Spider-Man costume. The first one was actually red and black. He slips out of class to save someone outside. When it says the studio that brought you X-Men 97, that's because it's Marvel Studios. Like Marvel Studios
I
makes
thought this
X-Men
was
97. We'll
Spider-Man.
see X-Men 97 not in 2025, it sounds like, but 2026. Really bummed we have to wait an extra year just to get that. More comic book transition panels with them like flying through the comic book panels. Then we see the bullies running after Harry Osborn and Spider-Man swinging in to save him.
Wait, did
Then
they
there's
say
a
this
couple
is coming
Easter
out?
eggs going on here too. So this person who's live streaming, getting ready to try and beat up Spider-Man, probably trying and failing. Spider-Man really beats the hell out of these guys. The person playing this streamer here is actually the NPC Miles Morales social media person in real life. I don't know how he got this role, but there are actually a lot of people who get voiceover work from social media, like their TikToks, from their YouTube, from every different social media site that they post on. People actually check that make shows and cast people from stuff like that. So if you do crazy voices and you're really good and you have like a big social media account, there's a pretty good chance you will get some work in voiceover. While they're live streaming here, there's also an Easter egg for the Screwball character from the comics, who is a villain who live streams their crimes. And that's actually a thing in real life. That's the funny thing, is that there's people all over the world that do stupid stuff like that. Like, why would you live stream your crime? Him live streaming is also an Easter egg for Tom Holland's Spider-Man, also live streaming on his phone during Spider-Man Far From Home. You have to imagine this universe is sort of like a blend of present day where social media, cell phones like that exist, but also it's based on the classic comics tropes from the classic comics. They kind of got into this with Miles Morales during Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, where he was like posting apologies and stuff like that he was doing. This is actually what Aunt May looks like. Part of the joke of the character through all the different reboots, like Tobey Maguire to Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man to Tom Holland's Spider-Man, is that like each time they introduce a new version of Aunt May, she gets younger and hotter. So pretty soon, don't be surprised if there's like a 20-something version of Aunt May who's just like drop dead gorgeous. I think this fire-based villain that he's fighting is meant to be a version of Pyromaniac from the Spider-Man comics. This old fire fight also reminds me of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man against Green Goblin. This speed-based villain that he takes down I think is meant to be a version of Speed Demon from the comics. We see Oscorp with him openly telling Norman Osborn that he is Spider-Man, who then opens all of his tech and starts helping make advanced suits for him, Tony Stark, Stark Tech style. He clocks that Norman Osborn has been friends with Captain America, and his suit looks like a more modern version of the Captain America suit. Like I said, pretty much all the big Avengers characters, for the most part, not every single Avenger, but like most of the Avengers show up during this, Iron Man also being a really big character. He spots Spider-Man on the security footage, which is probably how he figures out that he is Spider-Man, just like Tony Stark figured out that he was Spider-Man. Like, this is clearly you posting your clips to YouTube. The whole idea with Norman Osborn becoming his mentor and saying they'll achieve greatness together just meant to have a darker spin, which I think is why they're riffing on the Tobey Maguire Venom suit scene where he attaches to the wall in the Future Foundation, but now Oscorp Future Foundation suit. He's supposed to get a number of different suits during the series. When he calls himself Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, that is a term directly from the comics. They remind you that it starts January 29th. It'll probably be like the first 2 or first 3 episodes on January 29th. So whatever happens, I will just do episodes that they post week to week, but it's meant to be a weekly series for the most part. But this is just the first big trailer. We'll probably get more of a story trailer with more cameos and Easter eggs. So whatever they wind up posting, of course I will do a video about it. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below. What do you think about the whole vibe of this series? The art style will take a little while getting used to. Just the animation in general feels like it's meant to be another version of what they did during What If. Like X-Men 97 is based on What If animation that they just applied a special filter to make it look more like X-Men the Animated Series animation, but just in present day, much shinier HD. I wonder if they did something similar with this Spider-Man series, where like they started with the What If animation and then just changed it a little bit to make it look more like Steve Ditko's animation. They have not said how many seasons it's supposed to run. I think it's at least getting a season 2, but I don't know about beyond that. Currently, their biggest, most popular animated series right now is still X-Men 97. Like they're planning on that going more than 3 seasons. Speaking of which, I just did a video for the very last What If episode ever, like it's the end of the series, they just canceled it. Click here for that, and I just did a video on the death of the Sony Marvel Universe and what's happening with that. So click here to learn how they're going to deal with that.
You didn't see that coming?